All right, trying this again. You know what? Let me see. It's really dark in the room right now, and it just adjusts the brightness. So turning that light on. Um, Now we'll just have one bright source instead of the whole thing being bright. I started recording the video and it was really choppy. And it looked like it was lagging really hard. And I thought for a second, I was like, why would it be doing that? And I looked down and checked to see if it was on running on battery because laptops generally when they're running on battery go into some low performance mode. And sure enough, it was running on battery. The outlet that I plugged it into is the one that runs this lamp behind me, and the switch was off. Apparently, it's the whole outlet, not just like the one that the switch is plugged into that's hooked up to the lamp is. You get what I'm saying, anyway. So so this was day one of orientation. I'm back at the hotel again. We got out way early. They have an orientation schedule on the front door, and it has it broken into the Monday class and the Wednesday class. Um, you know, Depending on whether they have an orientation that starts on Monday, and then they have another one that starts on Wednesday, and they have a schedule that's for each one. So how did our day one go? I woke up at 5 a.m. I'm glad that I got up an hour and a half before the shuttle because getting ready out of these bags, I have to unpack everything like my shower bag, just to get soap out and my razor and stuff like that. And then when I'm done with it, I have to like dry it off and then pack it away. It adds an extra 5, 10, 15 minutes to my whole routine, my process. So I'm glad I got up really early. Um, Sorry, somebody's car alarm is going off. So I got up at 5 a.m., showered, did my normal stuff, and stood in here for like 5 minutes trying to remember if I forgot anything. And I went to downstairs to eat the free breakfast. And the free breakfast is actually pretty nice. This is huge, like probably 20, no, more than 20 feet, probably 30 feet of like a shelf that has like this cabinet with breads in it. Like one of the rows is biscuits, and then uh, I forget what all was in there. Like I'm not familiar with all the bread names. Like there was a bunch of stuff in there. There were also these little sweet things like sweet Swiss rolls or something. Is what they look like. Car alarm is still going off. But what I ended up getting was biscuits and gravy and eggs. And I was going to go down there and make a plate and then bring it up to my room and eat it. And as I was walking out of the little area, there's a sign on each side of the door that says, "Don't take food out of here." I'm like, oh crap. So I had to sit down there and eat. The orange juice dispenser was really wonky. Like I'd press a button, it wouldn't do anything, and I keep pressing the button, and eventually it'd like give out like 1 second of orange juice, and it took me probably 2 minutes to fill up my little cup of orange juice. But sat down there and ate. Everybody I've run into so far in orientation has been really nice. So as you can imagine, there were a bunch of USA truck people down there in the lobby of the hotel and um, in the food area. Struck up conversation with a few of them. They're really nice people, and hopped in a shuttle bus at approximately 6:30. They said that there were too many of us. They were gonna have to do a second trip. So I was able to get into the first one, and they took us down to the the terminal, the corporate headquarters, the site, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of like broken up into, like, there's this corporate looking nice office building that looks modern and really nice and everything. And then there's like this gravelish old pavement parking lot that looks like it has a couple of maintenance sheds. That's where we went. We didn't go to the nice corporate office building. We went to like the maintenance sheds uh, looking things. It's a pretty big building. It was, I think, to do our medical, we went up like 3 flights of stairs. I don't know how many stories the building was, but I think we went up 3 stories. So let me try to remember how orientation went. We got in there, and it was mainly just paperwork all day long, getting us to sign stuff. Um, paperwork, paperwork, paperwork. Yeah, I want to say all the way up until lunch, it was pretty much all paperwork. We were filling out DOT medical forms when we first got there, and a couple of other things. And I counted 12 people in the class. There were 12 people in my orientation class. Of those, 4 people were students that were going to be getting on with the trainer. The rest of them were going straight into their own truck. Within the first hour or so, somebody disappeared. We're not sure why he left, but they got him a Greyhound bus ticket somewhere. I'm pretty sure USA Truck paid for that Greyhound bus ticket. Um, he told us as he was leaving, somebody was like, "Are you out of here?" or something like that, and he was like, he said something along the lines of his girl got into a wreck. So I don't know if that was like his daughter or his girlfriend or his wife or what, but apparently somebody got into some kind of wreck and he had to leave immediately. So that cut us down to 11, and so 7 veteran drivers and 4 students at that point. And I want to say that, so I okay, if you watch this channel, you should know my background. I just got out of CDL school, got my Class A. I've driven previously. I've had a Class A before, and I drove about 15 years ago. 2 of the students were former bus drivers. I can't remember where exactly they drove bus. And then they both recently got Class A licenses. So they're new to Class A. And then the other one, he has had his CDL for something like 3 months, I think. I'm not sure. And I think he got his CDL through Trans Am, and he ended up quitting Trans Am and going to USA Truck. I'm guessing that he just didn't have enough experience that they would just let him into his own truck. So he may be doing a reduced training. Maybe they're making him go through the whole thing. I don't know. But he had some bad things to say about Trans Am, about them just basically taking miles from him on his paycheck. And he caught them on something like 3 paychecks in a row where they didn't give him credit for all of his miles. And they played it down, and they're just like, oh, it was a little oopsie type thing, and they were going to throw it on his next paycheck. But he kept catching them doing it. And he said the reason he started looking was because other people told him that Trans Am does that to everybody. They'll steal miles from people. It's, man, that is shady. That is really shady. Stay away from Trans Am. But, so we did all that. I think we moved through the process faster than a normal class. I don't know. Maybe not. we did everything earlier than scheduled. We went to lunch earlier than scheduled. We left at the end of the day earlier than scheduled. So we got in there and filled out paperwork. Then uh, what happened after we filled out paperwork was the class split. So all of the student drivers, which there were four of us, went upstairs, and they had a bunch of medical people up there that were utilizing like 5 or 6 rooms and this waiting area with a bunch of chairs in it. And we just went up there and stood in line to get our DOT medicals done. And everybody else that was not a student, that was going straight into a truck after orientation, went out and did a road test. Give me just a second here. Let me just actually... Is there a pause? There is a pause. Second. And we're recording. So what ended up happening was I ran into somebody else there that was also from Oklahoma City and had also gone to CDL University. And he was driving in the oil fields for the last, I don't know how long, 9 months or so. And he said that, work just started drying up. And I think he said that he went his last 6 weeks without a paycheck. Like, he was still working, but the company wasn't paying him, and he finally just quit. This is the road test form that all of us got. Damn it, that has my name on it. Well, not a big deal. So if you look through this road test form, which I'll try to hide my name, and it's basically a DOT test. So some people got scared. They were like, "Oh my God!" So the guy from CDL that also went to CDL University was like, "Hey, do you remember the brake test that you do?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just passed that test on Thursday." So he asked me if I would go out on break with him, and he had a couple of questions on the process on doing the air brake test. Looking through this scared me. I was like, if you take me a year from now, I'm probably not going to be able to pass the CDL exam, the DOT exam. And that is what this sheet is. And then they said they're only going to have 2 test trucks. If you have an auto restriction, then they have an automatic truck. If you don't, they have a manual truck. Those are the only 2 trucks they have, and they had 7 people to test. I was like, this is going to take all day long. To do a full vehicle inspection, last time I did that took me 51 minutes. So they went out and did their stuff while we went and did our DOT medicals. And they came back, and he was like, it was nothing. It was, all they did was the examiner got in the passenger seat of the truck, and they just did a cursory walk around inspection to make sure there wasn't anything falling off the tractor trailer. I don't even think they checked lights or anything. They might have had the lights on because it is USA truck policy to always have your lights on day and night. So maybe they just checked the basic functioning marker and clearance lights and headlights and tail lights, and they worked. I don't think they checked signals, flashers, I don't think they were flipping switches and checking all the functionality. So it's basically just a walk around for 10 seconds, get in the truck, and I don't know what driving there was. I didn't ask about that. I don't even know if they did any driving on the road. They just did kind of like an alley dock, but not like a confined alley dock. They just had them back into a normal parking spot that you would normally back into at a truck stop or basically anywhere, to warehouse or anywhere like that. And I think that was pretty much all the test was just get in the truck and back into a normal spot. Um, Pretty easy. So not nearly as terrifying as that sheet of paper. And that guy that was asking me questions, he thought that he was going to have to do like a DOT level test, like whenever he got his license. That scared me. But so we did the DOT medical stuff. Then we went back downstairs into the orientation room, and they had us do some other things. There's some kind of tax thing that they had us fill out, an income tax credit. If you're if you've received welfare in a certain amount of time, or all kinds of other things. I think it qualifies the company for some kind of tax credit. Like if the company hires someone that's been on welfare within the last 6 months, I think they get some kind of tax credit. It was a long list of stuff like that. It was like, hey, do any of these apply to you? If so, click yes. And we had to fill out that form, and I think that's just purely for USA Truck to get some form of tax credit or government compensation for hiring somebody that falls into one of those categories. The other thing we had to fill out was the clearinghouse. There is some new thing. I think it's new to everybody. It's not just our orientation. I think it's new to the industry. They just started a clearinghouse at the beginning of 2020 that everybody is required to sign up for. So we had to go create an account on the FMCSA.dot.gov website and authorize USA Truck to do a drug test on us or something like that. All drug tests, I believe, are now on that, required to be on that clearinghouse, so that the government and trucking companies can easily see your drug and alcohol testing record. Then we watched a presentation on the Smith driving system, defensive driving course, or space management driving. I just went through all that stuff in CDL school. So a lot of this orientation was stuff that was repeated from CDL school. And, well, not a lot of it, but it was mainly just paperwork, filling out W-4s and direct deposit, com data. Like, there was tons and tons of stuff that we had to sign and fill out. And they offered us per diem. I chose not to do it. Basically, you're giving up something like 2 or 3 cents a mile so that a percentage of your income is non-taxable. If you have a lot of potential write-offs, it's not smart to do that, because you can reduce your taxable income with a lot of write-offs. If you don't have any write-offs, then maybe it could work out well for you. But I'm not going to go into the whole per diem thing. You can research it if you want, but it's basically they take away 0.0225 cents. Well, 0.0225 of a dollar. So 2.25 cents off of whatever you're making, they take away from you, and they reduce your, and then they give you 10 cents per diem. So they're basically paying you a little over 2 cents a mile less, but 10 cents of your mileage pay is non-taxable. And they justify taking away the 2 cents from you as them paying taxes on that per diem. It's not completely tax-free to them. It's 80% tax-free, so they're still having to pay 20% taxes on that. So that's the reason they reduce your pay by that 2 cents, so that they can cover that tax. I chose not to do it. It's not really something I have to worry about, because I'm going to be owner-operator as soon as possible. and then the per diem through the company won't matter at all. So it doesn't really matter for the hopefully less than 6 months that I'm going to be a company driver. It's not going to make that much of a difference. There goes that car alarm again. Yeah, it was just a bunch of paperwork, a couple of presentations. One was on, the defensive driving Smith system, and then we linked up with multiple sites. I can't remember what all sites. Probably 3 or maybe 4 of the sites all got onto some kind of like Skype session or something. And one of the instructors out of Ohio, whatever they're, I can't remember what city it is in Ohio that they have a terminal in, but the instructor in Ohio did the Smith presentation and some other safety presentation. It was on GPS, not trusting GPS, and some other thing. There was a big part of it was don't trust GPS. You can't rely 100% on GPS. They've apparently had a big issue with drivers going down like dirt roads and stuff just with 100% faith in GPS. GPS tells them to go down this road that looks suspect, and they just do it, and they're rolling over trucks and hitting low bridges and stuff like that. There was some other topic that they covered on that. I can't remember. But then he did a couple of presentations. Then when he started going over per diem, that's when they broke off and we disconnected from the Skype, and he handed us out the per diem paperwork and all this stuff, and did a brief explanation of it, and we filled out all that paperwork. And then we pretty much left for the day. We left, I was in the hotel room at 3:30, so I'm guessing we left about 3:15, about 45 minutes before we were scheduled. And when we were leaving, before he released us for the day, he told us, be here tomorrow at 7 a.m. for orientation, and check out of the hotel and bring all of your luggage. So the schedule on the door says that orientation ends on Wednesday. Wednesday is a short day. According to the schedule, we do like 7 to 4 Monday, and then 7 to 4:10 Tuesday. I don't know why that 10 minutes is so crucial. And then on Wednesday, you're supposed to check out of the hotel and bring your luggage with you to orientation, and orientation lasts from 7 a.m. till 10:30 a.m. on Wednesday. But he said that they've been getting drug test results back really fast, and that's allowed them to have a shortened duration orientation. Tomorrow we have a ton of stuff that we're going to be doing. Today was basically just filling out a ton of paperwork and doing the DOT medical and doing a couple of like required things, like watching videos on stuff, like safety videos and things. Tomorrow we're going to get our comm data cards. We're going to get our badges. We're going to meet our driver managers or trainer managers. He said that there are two different things. He said if you're getting into a truck, you'll meet your driver manager tomorrow, and if you're a student, you'll meet I forgot what he called them, the training liaison or your trainer manager or something like that. I forget what they called it. But we're going to be, we're expected to be placed into trucks tomorrow. So if the drug test results don't come back for us tomorrow, my guesstimate is that they're just going to put us, we're going to pack up all of our luggage back into the shuttle, check into the hotel, stay another night in the hotel, and then pack up all of our luggage, bring it back in the next morning, and check out of the hotel again, and then set an orientation at 7 a.m. We'll do the normal third day. But yeah, I have a lot of time to kill today, like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 hours. I might not go to bed till 10 p.m. I don't think I fell asleep last night until 11 p.m. or midnight. but I wasn't really tired for the most part today. So, oh, I told you about breakfast. Breakfast was a lot of options. They had this little waffle station where you could make your own waffles, and I stood there like staring at it, trying to figure out how to use it for about 30 seconds because I was, like, biscuits, gravy, sausage, eggs, and a little stack of waffles. That'd be pretty nice. But I couldn't find where I only spent about 30 seconds in my defense. But I couldn't figure out where the waffle mix was at. I didn't see any liquid to pour into the waffle iron. So I think there were instructions on the wall, but I just tried to skim it and see how difficult it would be. And I also got down there a little later than I wanted to. I think I got down there about 6:10. So I didn't have a whole lot of time. Like if it was going to take 5 or 10 minutes to cook the waffles, then I would have been pushing it. So for lunch, they had these bagged lunches. He just came in, one of the people in the orientation for the company. I think it's the shuttle driver. I don't know what else he does. But he came in with several plastic bags that had a bunch of little bagged lunches in them, paper bag lunches. And they had like kettle style, just regular salted chips, and these wrapped sandwiches. So just like they had turkey and ham. Those are the only two. And it was basically just imagine a lettuce, tomato. I don't know if there was onion, cheese, and then ham or turkey in a wrap, with some kettle style. They look like they were like they didn't go buy Lay's kettle style chips. They actually made these chips. So they cut potato slices and fried them kettle style and salted them. They were decent. They were pretty good. The wrap was really good. What was amazing was the cookie. It had a cookie. I hate raisin cookies. This thing, I'm pretty sure, was a raisin cookie. And it is probably the best cookie I've ever eaten in my life. That was an awesome cookie. There were a few people who did not like the bagged lunch, so I got an extra cookie. Somebody was going to throw the whole thing away, and they were like, "Does anybody want my chips?" I was like, "Nah, I'm going to have trouble eating this whole thing that they gave me of chips." They're like, "Does anybody want this cookie?" And I'm like, "I want that cookie. Give me that cookie." So I got an extra cookie, which is kind of a shame because I saw a couple of people throw the cookies away. They didn't offer to give it to anybody else. I would have had like 4 or 5 cookies if some people didn't just toss them in the trash. Those were some amazing cookies. I don't even know what the name of the place was where we got those. I'm gonna have to go there and get like a dozen cookies or something. But yeah, that was about it. That was the whole day. Um, one little negative is a large like I smoking has, I used to be a smoker a long time ago. Like I quit smoking probably 10 years or more ago. Yeah, it was about 10 years ago that I quit smoking. I think it was right around the time I was 30 years old, about 10 years ago. So I know the smoker struggle. A large percentage of the people in my orientation are smokers or vapors. The smoking area is right in front of the entry to orientation. It just smells like smokers right there. And if you walk outside the door, like to get to the vending machines or something, you have to walk through that. That's my only real negative about the whole orientation thing, is that the smoking area is right in front of the damn doorway. Why would you do that? But like everybody smokes. I would say probably 8 out of 11 people in our orientation were smokers. And I think several of the orientation people were smokers as well. So it's not a big deal. What else? What else? It sounds like all the cool stuff's gonna happen tomorrow. Tomorrow's when we're gonna get all of our stuff. We're gonna get all of our things given to us, and we're gonna get to meet driver managers and stuff like that. I was told that during orientation I would get an opportunity to meet with lease and chat with them about when I could possibly get into a lease. I hope I have time to do that stuff tomorrow because we have basically a full schedule tomorrow. I don't know. We only had one independent contractor in our class, and it seemed like somebody was coming into the room every 10 or 15 minutes and asking for him to go do paperwork and stuff. I think he was doing a TEL lease. If I remember correctly, he said that he bought a truck previously. I don't know who he drove for. It was a 2011 Freightliner. He had a bunch of mechanical issues with it. I think he said over the course of 3 years, he spent something like $60,000 in maintenance on that thing. And he had a lot of negative things to say about truck ownership because of how expensive it is to fix anything that breaks on them. He had several examples of just minor little part replacement stuff. Something that anybody could replace if you knew how. When I say know how, I mean, like, if you, like, I could sit here and tell you that I'm going to charge you $1,500 to replace a light bulb. And if you have no idea what the process is to replace a light bulb, then you're just going to have to pay me $1,500. Well, he was basically making that point, that there are some really easy to replace items on a truck that they charge you like $1,300 to replace, when if you know what they're actually doing, you could just easily replace it yourself. And he was talking about just crazy amounts of money he spent on maintenance. So he was in the process. I don't know what he did with his old truck, but he was getting into a TEL lease that was just a straight lease, not a lease purchase or anything like that, just a straight lease. It was a full maintenance lease. He didn't want to mess with any maintenance stuff ever again. $60,000 over 3 years. That would fall pretty much within like what my expectations are. I'm hoping like that would be the higher end of maintenance expectations that I'm thinking of. Let me actually do the math on it real quick. So if I'm running 2,500 a week times, let's just do 48 weeks. That's 120,000 miles in a year. So if I take a month off and I only average 2,500 miles a week, I'll do 120,000 miles in a year times 0.15. I'm going to do a 15 cents a mile maintenance account. That's $18,000 a year maintenance. So that includes preventative, though. I'm not sure if his $60,000 total was also preventative maintenance, but that basically lines up to almost exactly what I was planning on putting aside for maintenance. I'm hoping that my unexpected maintenance is going to be lower than that. I was hoping that the 15 cents per mile would be enough that it would cover all preventative, and I would actually be able to build up a maintenance nest egg. I hope I don't have bad luck to where it's just constantly keeping me zeroed out on the maintenance account. But we'll see. He did not deter me on. He tried to talk me out of basically buying a truck. And then when I told him I was thinking about buying a $30,000 used truck, he said, "That's even worse." So maybe I'm making a bad decision. I don't know. I've crunched the numbers on it, and even his really negative numbers still fall within acceptable, ranges that I predicted. So anyway, this video is 34 minutes. I'm gonna have to cut it short there. I can't ramble for another 30 minutes because I'm on the Quality N Wi-Fi, and the video that I uploaded last night from my phone, it took like 8 hours to upload, and it kept failing and restarting and stuff. The Wi-Fi here is terrible, and I might actually. I'm gonna try and watch some Netflix and stuff. I forgot to bring an HDMI cable. If I had an HDMI cable, I could run it to the TV and watch Netflix on the TV in here off of my laptop. But I forgot an HDMI cable. Next time I go by my house, I'm going to get an HDMI cable. I have multiple HDMI cables. So I need to snag one just for this purpose. And when I'm in a truck, a lot of these trucks have TVs in them, even the trainer's truck or whatever. I could run an HDMI cable from my laptop to the TV and watch TV in there. Or if I have a TV in my truck. Speaking of TV, somebody said today that they were told that USA Truck has DirecTV in their trucks. I have never heard that. I know that TMC has DirecTV in their trucks. I've never heard of USA Truck having DirecTV in their trucks. And I've heard, he said it's also completely free. TMC's isn't free. They pay for 3/4 of it. You still have to pay $25. They pay $75. I think the total is $100 a month. But he's going to find out. His recruiter made a bunch of promises to him. At the beginning of orientation, he doesn't have an automatic restriction, so he can drive a manual, but he doesn't want to drive an old truck. His recruiter told him he would get a new truck. It would be automatic. And I don't know if his recruiter or somebody else also told him that USA Trucks come with DirecTV for free. I hope he doesn't get too pissed off if some of these things don't end up being true. Because some of the things he is told, I'm not sure. But he did say that the people in orientation said that they have nothing to do with recruiter promises. And they had him on one of our breaks or something go and talk with some driver manager and verify that he was going to get a new truck. And he said that he didn't necessarily have to have an automatic. It's just that all of USA Truck's newer trucks that they've been buying are automatics. And he doesn't want to drive one of the older ones. He said if they've got a brand new manual, he'll drive a brand new manual. But he wants to be in one of the new Kenworths. I don't know if it specifically has to be a Kenworth or if it just has to be new. But they're appeasing him. Now, one of the things I was really concerned with USA Truck was everything throughout the process of getting me here. Everybody's been really nice to me. I was afraid that I would get into orientation and they would start laying down the law. Now, there were a couple of things they laid down the law on, but they did it in a really nice way. Like, they have a zero tolerance policy for drugs and alcohol. There are no second chances. There's no discussions. If you get found in possession of or being inebriated or affected by or whatever, drugs or alcohol, even on a 34-hour restart, the only time that you're allowed to do that stuff is when you're on your home time at your home. And DOT says that you can't consume alcohol within something like 4 hours of being on duty. And USA Truck's policy is 10 hours. So they have a very, very, very. It's like he said that it's an absolutely zero tolerance. There's no discussion on it. If you break their drugs and alcohol policy, you're just terminated. There's no discussion. And there was one other no discussion policy that they had. What in the world was it? What was it? What was it? What was it? I can't remember. I do have some things written down on my paper here. They have this. I didn't know that they had that collision avoidance system. They have one of those systems. They said in 60% of their trucks, which is probably all of their newer trucks, they have this Bendix Wingman Fusion system. And it's that crap that Prime has in their trucks that makes noise every time it thinks you're going out of a lane, or anytime there's an obstacle in front of you. It doesn't hit your brakes. The only like control in the presentation. Now they said that if you get assigned one of these trucks that has this system, you're going to get more information about it and a more in-depth training. But the only thing that it does in reaction to a perceived threat is if it detects that you're going over 10 miles. So if you're going 5 miles per hour over the speed limit, it will beep at you. If you go 10 miles per hour over the speed limit, it will beep at you even more, and it will do 1 second of dethrottle. I don't know how often it will do that, but it will start turning off your throttle if it catches you going 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. And based on the video presentation, it looked like it was determining speed limit by reading signs that you were passing, not like some map system GPS thing where it's determining where you're at and referencing a database. So if you have a reduced speed in a construction site or something like that, that's not going to be in some kind of GPS map database, most likely. But it can read signs. And if you're in a 60 mile per hour or 50 mile per hour construction zone, then it is going to alert on you, supposedly, if it works correctly. Which, that's the biggest complaint I've heard from these systems like this, is that they trigger on things that are not events, that are non-events. Like, one of the things I've heard, like the Prime, I think Prime, their collision avoidance system will actually hit brakes. And one of the things I've heard that happens is the detector up front that's supposed to detect obstacles in front of you, if you're going up an incline, it will sometimes trigger off of the roadway, and it'll slam the brakes on you while you're going uphill. That's like a troll tactic right there. That's messed up. Slam on your brakes while you're going uphill, man. That's terrible. But I'm probably not going to get one of those trucks because I don't have an automatic restriction. People with automatic restrictions, there were something like 5 or 6 people. He read off a list of names of people who could only drive automatics. I don't know if they have an automatic restriction or if there's some other reason they can't drive automatics. But they read off a list of names of approximately 5 people out of the original 12 that could only drive automatics. Now, the guy whose recruiter promised him he was going to drive an automatic raised his hand and said, "I'm not on that list, and I was promised an automatic." And that's when the whole conversation started about, recruiter promises and stuff like that. So I suspect that the 5 people actually had restrictions on their licenses, not promises that they were going to be able to get an automatic. Because this guy didn't have a restriction. He could drive a manual. He just didn't want to. So, like 5 out of 12 people had auto restrictions. That shows that CDL holders that are capable of driving manuals are a dying breed. I think a lot of these CDL schools are switching to autos because that's a big part of the training process, is teaching people how to shift these trucks and how to drive a manual. And if you can eliminate that, it makes everything, getting your CDL pretty easy, because a huge part of the problem is shifting the truck. That's a, so. Is there anything else? I don't think there's anything else. And I should have cut this video a long time ago. But I'll see if I can get it uploaded in the next 3 days on this slow Wi-Fi. Alright, thanks for watching.